first test flight is a go.
Hello and thanks for joining us. Today we're starting with a bit of shake, rattle and roll, aren't we, Lisa Nesselson?
We are, Eve Jackson.
The new film Elvis is directed by Australian director Baz Luhrmann, who loves to razzle and dazzle on film. After Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby, Elvis Presley seems to be a suitable subject for him. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. There are, names that conjure sea changes in human affairs. If you mention Einstein, nobody says Einstein who, and so it is with Elvis. Elvis was kind of an unusual name, and the fact that it happened to rhyme with pelvis is pretty delicious. Elvis could sing, he could move, he loved and understood the bluesy approach to music perfected by black musicians where he grew up in the American South, and there really was a before and after in entertainment. Since Elvis Presley was a real person, there are, of course, lots of articles and think pieces taking issue with how Elvis is portrayed here, what's included, what's left out. But you'd need more than 2 hours and 39 minutes, and very recently Luhrmann revealed there is actually a 4-hour version. The film takes the tack that Elvis Presley, Austin Butler, captures his physicality, and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, Tom Hanks, captures his promotional instincts, were in a symbiotic relationship about which Parker had far more information than his client-cum-meal ticket.
Well, I'm dying to see it. Here's Baz Luhrmann explaining the impact Elvis had on American life and a glimpse of the film's energy.
He's a canvas to paint America in the 50s and the 60s and 70s. He's at the cross-culture of all of that. He's at the cross-culture of race. And most importantly, what I discovered in all my study and all the time I spent is that he's a very spiritual person. He's a uniter, not a divider. And I think that I came to realize that. And it's like a great American opera. It's full of joy and hope and sad tragedy.
I just gotta be making the most of this thing while I can. This could all be over in a flash. We are the same, you and I. We are two odd, lonely children reaching for eternity. The greatest show on earth.
Lisa, how important is Elvis to you?
Well, I remember where I was when his death was announced in July of 1977. I was on a bus with campers from a resort in Wisconsin, and since I was 21, 42 sounded really old, but of course that was tragically young. In the film, Elvis muses to his ex-wife Priscilla that maybe he squandered his gifts and that he might not even be remembered. And you kind of want to yell at the screen, "It's okay, Elvis, trust me, you will be remembered." Like this movie quite a bit, hope you like it too. Full of music and intrigue, visual through and through. That Baz Luhrmann, he's a showman, showing us what's best about Elvis, warts and all. In peace may he rest.
You are certainly going to be remembered, Lisa Nesselson.
Elvis may have been a federating performer, as the director said, but he also had pronounced right-wing ideas, and for a tour de force set of performances riffing on the real-life private encounter on December 21st, 1970, at the White House between Elvis Presley and then-President Richard Nixon, I highly recommend the 2016 Elvis and Nixon starring Michael Shannon and Kevin Spacey, directed by Liza Johnson, who was born just 7 days before that meeting, but somehow convinces us that she must have witnessed it. And I got a real kick out of 2002's Bubba Hotep, in which Elvis is living in a retirement home, having switched places in the 1970s with an Elvis impersonator.
Okay, well, it looks fabulous. Next to a Toy Story spin-off from Disney-Pixar, Lightyear is out in France this week. It is the origin story of legendary space ranger Buzz Lightyear. And the film has actually been banned in a number of countries in the Middle East because of a same-sex kiss. Tell us more.
Well, the reason cited is that same-sex kiss, which, remember, takes place between two fictional women characters who are animated drawings, is not something audiences should be exposed to in certain parts of the world. So there. Buzz Lightyear's fellow astronaut is a woman married to another woman, and a lesbian space ranger is surprisingly threatening in a lot of places. Whether it merely violates a country's media content standards, as in the United Arab Emirates, or Homosexuality is considered to be criminal. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Lebanon have refused to permit the film to be shown in theaters, and it's not expected to be released in China either, where the authorities demanded cuts, and Disney said no.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Lightyear.
Being pursued by just a massive robot.
That was utterly terrifying, and I regret having joined you. Buzz!
Lightyear!
Let all the children begin.
I can provide sleep sounds if you like. I have several options. Summer night, ocean paradise, whale calls.
No. White noise is fine.
Very well.
Good night, Socks.
Good night, Buzz.
Well, Disney-Pixar may be scoring points for on-screen diversity, but the same company has just made an announcement that you and many others from the French film industry are worried about.
You can say that again. Their next animated feature, Strange World, which was due in French movie theaters this coming November, will bypass cinemas entirely and go straight to the streaming service, Disney+. That doesn't immediately sound so nefarious. They don't want to put off showing Strange World on Disney+, as French law protecting thousands upon thousands of jobs requires. So they are deliberately depriving movie theaters of much-needed post-COVID revenue, depriving children and families of the chance to see a presumably well-made animated film on the big screen, and most of all, depriving the French film industry of money to make French films. That's because a little bit of every ticket sold in theaters goes into a fund to make French movies, and France makes about 300 films a year, almost a third of them made by women. As of this past January, a film can be offered on video on demand form 4 months after it opens in French cinemas, but they must wait 17 months for subscription streaming services. Now, streaming services say they're terrified of film piracy if people have to wait a few months after a theatrical release. But I think the underlying reason is that investors are judging the value of streaming services by how many subscribers they have. Film has always been a business, but this is particularly short-sighted, as the recent plunge in Netflix's valuation proved. Tens of millions of dollars in supposed value vaporized because Netflix lost a measly 200,000 subscribers out of over 200 million, and because they lost 700,000 Russian subscribers when the service was withdrawn due to Russia's war against Ukraine. You heard it here first. The stock market is kind of silly.
Oh, well, it's definitely a subject we're talking more and more about every week, isn't it? Well, now to a summer film festival that takes place in Paris on one of the most famous avenues in the world, and it is an event that can only be experienced in cinemas. Tell us more about the Champs-Elysees Film Festival.
Well, it's the 11th edition of a festival with a very specific and I think very generous theme. It's devoted to independent films, shorts and features from the U.S. and from France. It's carefully programmed, inexpensive, open to one and all, and takes place, as the name suggests, in the movie theaters along and just off the Champs-Elysees. Two honorees this year are writer-director Ari Aster, who specializes in things that go bump in the night and also things that go bump in broad daylight, as in his delectably creepy Nordic commune drama Midsummer. And composer Dan Deacon will also get the spotlight. The festival was founded by Sophie Dulac, who owns a mini chain of splendidly programmed art houses here in Paris. There's a juried competition featuring 6 French features and 6 American features, and a competition for short films with 11 examples from each country. Over 60 films in all, with an emphasis on independence and audacity. So, if for some reason you prefer cliches and predictability, stay away from the Champs-Elysees while this celebration, which also includes musical performances, masterclasses, and 4 premieres, is underway.
Sounds jam-packed full. Here's a glimpse of what's being shown at the Champs-Elysees Film Festival.
J'aime guetter en silence leur magnétique présence. Et si dans la nuit je les découvre, le ciel entier semble se dissoudre. J'aime les joies trop intenses, je ne peux pas m'empêcher de vouloir toujours que l'on danse. Partout où je mets les pieds, lorsque l'horizon balance, apparaissent les noyés. De mes yeux longs, de ses penches, dans ma nuit je vais plonger.
And the Champs-Elysees Film Festival is on until the 28th of June, next to a celebration of the best international short films. Now, each film shown at Les Nuits en Or, or Golden Nights, has won a top film award, like an Oscar in its home country. Why do you like the event so much?
Well, Les Nuits en Or shows compilations of the short films that won the top national prize in more than 30 countries. It's held at the UGC Odeon here in Paris in the 6th arrondissement, and it's organized by the French Césars Academy. Many of the award-winning directors will be on hand to exchange ideas with the audience. Expected participants include Asher Rosser, who won Uganda's Ama Trophy for his film Meat, and Anastasia Bovska, whose film Bull Mastiff won the Golden Ziga in Ukraine. Impress your friends. In Belgium, you win a Magritte. In the Netherlands, a Golden Calf. In Ireland, an IFTA. In Spain, a Goya. In the UK, a BAFTA, etc. The films include animation, documentaries, and fiction, and I'm particularly curious about a Swedish documentary about a man who was dedicated to feeding the pigeons near the Pompidou Center here in Paris. He died recently, and he seemed to know the birds, and they seemed to know them. And if you're not in Paris on those dates, a 7-film sampler of winning shorts is touring France this month through September, absolutely free of charge.
OK, well, Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to leave you with our own sampler of the top-notch short films showing this week in Paris. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.